The massive ship hung above Earth like a dark shadow, invisible to human eyes and sensors. Inside the observation deck, Captain stood before a wide window that showed the blue planet below. Behind him, his council of scientists and military officers waited for his decision about what they had just discovered. Outside, the storm was building. It came from the ocean, growing bigger and stronger with each passing hour. The weather systems on this planet were violent and dangerous. Humans called it a Category 6 hurricane. It was nothing more than a data point to observe and study. Had been watching humanity for 6 months. His species had arrived at Earth quietly, taking positions in high orbit where their advanced technology kept them hidden. They were a proud race. They had conquered 20 star systems. They had mastered technology that humans could not even imagine, yet they had been careful not to reveal themselves to this young civilization. The humans below were weak. Everyone agreed on this point. They could not survive in harsh environments. They depended on their fragile technology and limited. They were emotional and unpredictable. A could live for 300 years. A human was old at 80. To the council, these creatures were interesting but not impressive. "Captain," said the chief observer. She was young for her position but brilliant. "There is movement below. A human has entered the storm zone." Focused on the screen, a figure appeared, small and fragile against the massive winds. The human was running toward the mountains. It made no sense. Every rational creature would run away from danger, not toward it. "What is he doing?" asked Commander. "Is the weather system pushing him?" "No," said. She studied the data coming from their sensors. "He is moving under his own control. He is choosing to run into the storm." "Then he is damaged," said. "His thinking is broken. We should record this for our scientists. It may show us the limits of their mental abilities." But was not so sure. He watched as the human figure fought against the wind. The storm was growing stronger. Trees were being torn from the ground. Debris flew through the air like weapons. The human should have been killed already. Yet he continued moving forward. Another sensor alert came. A second human heat signature appeared on the screen. This one was smaller. "A child," reported. The child was trapped near the cliff edge, unable to move. The wind was pushing it toward the edge of a dangerous drop. Understood now. The first human was trying to save the child. "Impossible," said. "At this distance, survival is 0.03%. The human's chance of success is beyond calculation. He will die. The child will die. Both deaths are certain." "He is trying anyway," said. There was something in her voice that had not heard before. It sounded like respect. "Prepare a recording," commanded. "I want every moment of this preserved. Set the probability timer. Let us see how long this creature survives." On the planet below, Hayes did not think about his chances. He did not consider that he might die. He only knew that Tommy was out there, scared and alone with no one to help him. Had been a rescue worker for 15 years. He had saved people in earthquakes, floods, and avalanches. This was just another mission. The wind attacked him like a living thing. It pushed at his body and tried to knock him down. His protective suit was good, but it was not enough. His goggles filled with rain. He could barely see the path ahead. His legs burned as he ran. His lungs fought for air in the terrible weather. A piece of metal flew past his head. He felt the heat from lightning nearby. The world was chaos and danger, but kept moving. He had trained for this. His body knew what to do even when his mind wanted to give up. Tommy was 500 meters away, then 400. The wind got worse. The rain became harder. A massive branch fell from a tree and had to roll away from it. He felt pain in his shoulder but kept running. Pain was just information. It could be ignored. Then he saw the boy. Tommy was clinging to a rock, his small body pressed low against the ground. The wind was trying to pull him away. The cliff edge was only 10 meters behind him. One strong gust and the child would fall. "Tommy," shouted, but the wind ate his words. He moved closer, staying low to the ground. Tommy saw him and reached out with one hand, grabbed the boy and pulled him close. Tommy was cold and terrified. His body was shaking from fear and cold. "I have you," said. "You are safe now. I will not let anything happen to you." He held Tommy against his chest and looked around. The storm was at full strength now. They could not go back the way he came. The cliff was behind them. The only choice was forward, deeper into the mountains, toward the caves he knew about from his rescue training. Started moving. He held Tommy tight and pushed forward through the wind and rain. His body was already exhausted, but he did not stop. The boy needed him. That was all that mattered. Above in the observation deck watched with growing interest. The human had reached the child. Both were still alive. This should not be possible. "Increased survival probability," said. "Something is different. Something is changing the calculations." Worked on her console. "New probability estimate, sir. If the human makes it to the mountain caves, survival chance increases to 17%, but he would need to survive the next hour first. Current estimate for the next hour is 9%. "Record everything," said again. "I want to see what happens. I want to understand how a weak creature can do something so strong." They had studied many species. They understood mathematics and physics. They understood how creatures behaved when they were in danger. Creatures fought for themselves. Creatures ran away. Creatures did not run toward danger to save others. Yet this human was doing exactly that. Hayes did not know that he was being watched. He did not know that his actions were being recorded and studied by an alien race. He only knew that he had a job to do. He had a child to protect. And no matter what the storm threw at him, he would not fail. The wind howled around them like a beast. The rain cut at exposed skin. The world became nothing but survival and movement. Moved forward into the darkness of the storm, carrying Tommy toward shelter, toward safety, toward hope. And above, they watched in silence, beginning to understand that there was more to humanity than they had ever imagined. The cave opening appeared through the darkness like a mouth waiting to swallow them. Had reached it after nearly an hour of fighting through the storm. His body felt like it was made of broken glass and fire. Every muscle screamed with pain. Every breath cut at his chest. But Tommy was still alive in his arms, and that was what mattered. He pulled the boy deeper into the cave, away from the wind and rain. The ground inside was cold and wet, but it was solid. It was shelter. Set Tommy down on a flat rock and checked him for injuries. The boy had a cut on his forehead and his left arm looked swollen, but he was breathing. He was conscious. He was alive. "Where are we?" Tommy asked. His voice was small and scared. "We are in a cave," said. "It is safe here. The storm cannot reach us." Tommy began to shiver. His teeth chattered. Knew about hypothermia. Cold was as dangerous as the storm itself. He needed to get Tommy warm and dry. He began removing his own outer protective suit. "What are you doing?" Tommy asked. "I am going to wrap you up," said. "My suit will keep you warm." Worked quickly. He removed the suit and wrapped it around Tommy. Then he sat down beside the boy and held him close to his own body. Body heat was simple science. Two warm bodies together stayed warmer than one body alone. His radio crackled to life. Static filled the cave, then a voice broke through. "This is Foster, do you read me? Respond." Grabbed the radio. Was the rescue coordinator. She was the person who had sent him on this mission. "I read you," said. "I have the boy. We are in the cave system on the east face of Mount Heron. We are alive." "Thank God," said. The relief in her voice was clear even through the static. "The storm is not stopping. The forecast says it will get worse before it gets better. We cannot send a helicopter in these conditions. You need to hold your position." "Understood," said. "We will wait." "How is the boy?" asked. Looked at Tommy. The boy was curled against him, shaking from cold and fear. His eyes were wide and dark. "He is hurt but stable," said. "He is conscious. His arm might be broken. We will need medical attention when this is over. You will get it, promised. Just keep him alive, you can do this. The radio went silent, sat in the darkness of the cave holding Tommy and thought about what came next. The storm would rage for hours, perhaps until the next morning. They had no food. They had water from the rain he could collect at the cave entrance, but it was dirty. They had nothing else. He looked around the cave with the light from his emergency torch. The cave was about 30 meters deep. The ground was uneven but walkable. Rocks of different sizes lay scattered everywhere. Some of them were sharp, some were smooth. An idea came too. He could use these rocks to build things. He could create shelter within the shelter. He could build a dry place for Tommy to sit. He could construct barriers to keep the wind out. For the next 2 hours worked. He collected rocks and arranged them into a protective wall. He used pieces of his suit and debris he found to create a space that was as protected as he could make it. Tommy helped when he could, moving small rocks with his good arm. The work kept both of them warm and it kept Tommy's mind busy. Fear was easier to manage when there was something to do. The storm outside grew louder. The wind screamed through the cave entrance. Rain came in waves. Lightning flashed and lit the entire cave bright as day. Thunder shook the ground beneath them. The storm was not getting better. It was getting worse. Tommy said, "Are we going to die?" Looked at the boy's face. He saw fear there, but also hope. Tommy was asking because he wanted an honest answer. "No," said, "we are not going to die. I will keep you safe. I promise you that." He said it with absolute certainty. There was no doubt in his voice. Tommy needed to hear that someone believed they would survive, and did believe it. He had believed it from the moment he saw the boy trapped on that cliff. Tommy fell asleep against his shoulder as the night deepened. Outside, the world was chaos. Inside the cave, they had a small circle of safety and warmth. Hours passed. The storm continued. Wind came into the cave and had to adjust their position several times. Water began to seep in from other cracks in the rock. He built better barriers. He created channels for the water to flow away from where Tommy slept. He was working by the light of his torch when the ground shook, not from thunder, from something solid, a landslide. Rocks fell from the ceiling of the cave. One piece nearly hit him. The entrance to the cave became partially blocked by debris and dirt. Dust filled the space, coughed and covered Tommy's body with his own. He held the boy as rocks continued to fall. The cave itself was collapsing. Then it stopped. The ground became still. Dust hung in the air like fog. Check the cave. The entrance was mostly blocked now, but there was still a gap. They could still get out if they had to. The main chamber where they were seemed stable. The ceiling had held. They had survived another attack from the storm. Sat down and held Tommy again. The boy woke up crying from fear. "I have you," said again. "I have you, we will be okay." He sang to Tommy then, a simple song his mother had taught him when he was young. His voice was rough from the cold and exhaustion, but Tommy heard it. The boy's tears stopped. His breathing slowed. He fell back into sleep against his shoulder. Kept singing. He sang all through the night. He sang about home and safety and love. He sang because Tommy needed to hear something besides the storm. He sang because singing was something a human could do that machines could not. He sang because there was still hope. Above the planet, in the cold darkness of space, watched the data from her sensors. She saw the landslide. She saw and Tommy survive it. She saw the human continue to function, to adapt, to protect the child. She began to understand something her species had forgotten long ago. There was a kind of strength that came not from technology or pure survival instinct. It came from caring for another being. It came from refusing to give up even when the situation was impossible. They had called it weakness, but now wondered if they had been wrong about humans all along. Morning did not come. The storm did not end. If anything, it got worse. The wind outside the cave had become something beyond what had ever experienced. It sounded like a living creature screaming in rage. The cave shook with each gust. Discovered the problem when Tommy tried to eat the energy bar from his pack. The boy's hands were shaking so badly he could not hold it. His lips were blue. His skin felt cold even in his arms. Tommy had hypothermia. Had seen hypothermia before. He knew the signs. The body temperature was dropping. If they did not warm Tommy soon, the boy would slip into unconsciousness. And from there, it was only a short distance to death. "Tommy, I need you to listen to me," said. "I am going to hold you very close and you need to stay still. Can you do that?" Tommy nodded weakly, removed his undersuit and pulled Tommy close, skin to skin. Every piece of heat from his own body would transfer to the boy. It was the only way he knew to fight hypothermia in these conditions. Hours passed, did not move, he did not sleep. He held Tommy and fought to keep the boy alive through sheer force of will. His own body temperature was dropping. He could feel it happening. The cold was entering his bones, making his thoughts slow and heavy. Tommy's breathing became shallow. The boy fell into a kind of sleep that was not really sleep. His eyes were closed, but his body twitched. This was dangerous. This was the sign that the body was shutting down. "Stay with me," Tommy whispered. "Talk to me. Tell me about your family." Tommy's eyes opened slightly. "My mom makes chocolate cake," he said slowly, "on my birthday." "That sounds wonderful," said. "Tell me about it. What does it taste like?" "Sweet and dark and warm," Tommy said. "That is right," said. "And next year your mom will make you another one, but only if you keep fighting, only if you stay alive. Do you understand?" Tommy made a small noise that might have been agreement. Continued to hold him. His own body was shaking now. His teeth chattered, his vision blurred. But he did not let go. He could not let go. If he let go, Tommy would die. The radio crackled. His voice came through, but it was broken and hard to understand. "Still there," static cut up the words. "Here," managed to say. "Still here, storm is very bad." "Helicopter cannot come," said. "Too dangerous, you must hold position." Knew this already, but hearing it made it real. They were on their own. No one was coming to save them. It was just in Tommy against the storm and the cold and time itself. He made a decision then. He gave Tommy his remaining water. He gave the boy the last energy bars from his pack. Tommy was a child. Children needed food more than adults. Children had to survive. When Tommy asked if was hungry, lied. "I am not hungry," he said. "I am just tired. You eat. You need to stay strong." Tommy ate slowly. Each bite seemed to take forever, but color returned slightly to the boy's face. His breathing became less shallow. Hours became a day. Day became night again. Lost track of time. There was only the cave and the storm and Tommy and the cold. Everything else disappeared. The second night was worse than the first. The storm moved with new fury. The cave entrance collapsed further. Rocks tumbled down and blocked more of the opening. The light from outside became gray, then darker. When the ceiling began to crack above them, knew what he had to do. He positioned himself under the weak point. He stood up, his legs barely able to hold him, and raised his arms. The moment the rocks came loose, they would fall on him, but he would hold them long enough for Tommy to stay safe. "What are you doing?" Tommy asked. "Staying alive," said. The rocks fell. Pain exploded through his shoulders and arms. His knees buckled, but he held them up. He held the rocks with the last strength in his broken body. His muscles screamed. His bones felt like they would splinter. "Tommy, move," he said through gritted teeth. "Go deeper into the cave, go now." Tommy crawled away from the collapse point, held the rocks for as long as he could. When his arms finally gave out and he collapsed, the rocks had already fallen in a way that did not crush him. His plan had worked. He lay on the ground, gasping for breath. Blood ran down his arms. His shoulders felt like fire, but Tommy was safe. Tommy was still alive. In the observation deck above Earth, stared at the sensor readings. Her hands shook as she made her report to Captain. "The human has sustained serious injury," she said. "His body is damaged. By any logic, he should stop. He should protect himself. He should allow the child to fend for itself." "But he has not," said. "It was not a question." "No, sir," said. "He has not. He continues to protect the child even as his own body fails." "Why?" asked. Was silent for a moment. Then she said, "I do not know, sir. We have no data for this kind of choice. Our computers cannot explain it. But I believe it is what humans call love. The desire to keep another being safe, even at the cost of your own life." Watch the thermal images on the screen. The human's body temperature was dropping. His heart rate was elevated from pain and effort. The child was still alive. The child was still protected. "Continue recording," said. "I want to see what happens next." That night did not sleep. He could not. His body would shut down if he slept. Hypothermia would take him. So he stayed awake and held Tommy and talked to the darkness. He told Tommy about the mountains he had climbed, about the people he had saved, about why he had become a rescue worker. He talked about his sister and his parents. He talked about dreams and hope and the simple fact that some things were worth fighting for. And Tommy listened. The boy's body was warmer now. His breathing was steady. His heartbeat was strong. Outside, the storm began to change. The wind became less fierce. The rain still fell, but it was no longer a weapon. The peak of the storm was passing. Felt it, he knew the weather patterns. They would survive. They would both live to see tomorrow. He held Tommy close and whispered, "We are going to make it, I promise you. We are going to get home." And in that cave, in the darkness and cold, a human refused to accept defeat. A human chose love over survival. A human became something greater than his own pain and fear. The aliens watched and finally began to understand what they had been missing all along. The sky began to light. It took hours, but the gray darkness above the cave entrance slowly became lighter. The storm was breaking. The wind that had screamed with such fury was now just a loud wind. The rain fell in sheets instead of waves. Felt it when Tommy's fever broke. The boy's skin became warm and dry. His breathing deepened. He slept naturally instead of the broken sleep of someone fighting for their life. The worst was over. Wanted to celebrate, but his body would not cooperate. He was exhausted in a way that went beyond sleep deprivation. Every part of him hurt. His shoulders were bruised black from holding up the rocks. His hands were cut and bleeding. His lips were cracked. His stomach was empty and burning. But he was alive. Tommy was alive. That was what mattered. The radio crackled again. His voice came through clearly this time. "We are reading weather changes. The storm is moving south. We can send a helicopter in about 3 hours. Can you hold your position?" "We are here," said. His voice was rough. "We are ready." "We are so glad you are alive," said. "We have been monitoring your location. The entire world is watching your story. You are a hero." Did not feel like a hero. He felt like a tired man who had done his job. He said nothing. As the hours passed and the storm continued to weaken, worked on getting ready for rescue. He checked Tommy over carefully. The boy's arm was definitely broken, but it had not been damaged further during the night. His cut was clean. His body was recovering from the cold. He would need hospital treatment, but he would be fine. Cleaned himself up as best he could. He used water from the cave to wash the blood from his hands. He straightened his suit. He looked in the mirror function of his broken watch and barely recognized himself. His face was thin. His eyes were sunken. He looked like a ghost. But he smiled anyway. They had made it. Against all odds, through the worst storm in decades, with nothing but his knowledge and his determination and his love for a child he had just met, had brought them both through. 3 hours became 2 hours. 2 hours became 1. The wind outside the cave had become almost gentle. The rain was just rain, not a weapon. Heard it first. A distant sound cutting through the noise of the remaining storm. A helicopter. "Tommy, wake up," said. "Our rescue is coming." Tommy's eyes opened. The boy sat up slowly. "Really?" he asked. Hope filled his voice. "Really," said. The helicopter appeared over the cave entrance. It was blue and white with medical symbols on the side, stood up on unsteady legs and waved. He used his emergency mirror to flash signals. The helicopter saw him. A rope ladder dropped down. The pilot was incredible. He held the helicopter steady even in the turbulent wind. A rescue worker rappelled down. His name was Devon. He was large and strong, and he moved with the confidence of someone who had done this many times. "Hayes?" Devon asked, though he already knew the answer. "That is me," said. "I am here to get you both out," Devon said. "We are going to get you to the hospital, both of you. Are you injured?" "My shoulders are bruised," said. "The boy has a broken arm and possible hypothermia exposure, but he is recovering." Devon examined Tommy quickly. "This kid is lucky," he said, "and you are crazy for doing what you did, but that kind of crazy is the best kind there is." They secured Tommy to Devon with safety equipment. The boy was lifted up into the helicopter first, watched him go, making sure he was safely inside before he agreed to be lifted himself. In the helicopter, medics surrounded him. They checked his vital signs. They gave him water and blankets. They made him lie down on a stretcher, but kept his eyes on Tommy. He needed to know the boy was safe. He needed to see him get to the hospital. At the hospital, they separated them. Tommy went to the children's ward, went to emergency care. Doctors examined his shoulders and arms. They took x-rays. They told him he had deep bruises but no broken bones. He was lucky. Lucky, that word again. Did not feel lucky. He felt like he had done what any human would do in the same situation. Above the planet, in the observation deck, Captain called a meeting with his entire council. Stood near him, her face calm but her thoughts in turmoil. "We have witnessed something remarkable," said. "A human risked everything to save a child he did not know. He sacrificed his own safety. He endured pain and cold and exhaustion. And when asked to explain his actions, he said only that he did what any human would do." Commander stood up. "He is an outlier. One individual does not represent an entire species." "Then we must learn if he is truly unusual," said. "We must gather more data. We must study humans more carefully. Because if what we witnessed is normal for this species, then we have been very wrong about them." Spoke then her voice clear and steady. "Captain, I have reviewed all our observations. This human named is not unique. We have recorded hundreds of similar actions by humans. They protect their children. They sacrifice for their families. They help strangers without expecting reward. They create beauty even in harsh conditions. They choose mercy when they could choose survival." Looked at his chief observer with new respect. "You believe humans should be elevated in our assessment?" "I believe," said carefully, "that we have been measuring strength by the wrong scale. We thought a species was strong if it was advanced and powerful. But humans are strong in ways our data did not account for. They are strong in their will, in their love, in their ability to endure and overcome. We may have misjudged them severely." The council chamber became silent. Every present understood what was saying. It meant changing their entire view of this species. It meant admitting they had been wrong. Looked out at the planet below. Somewhere down there, Hayes was being treated for his injuries. Somewhere down there, Tommy was sleeping in a hospital bed, safe because one human had refused to abandon him. "Prepare a report for the Galactic Council," said. "We must present our findings, and we must prepare for what comes next. I believe humanity is a species that deserves recognition, deserves respect, deserves a place among the civilizations of this galaxy as equals, not subjects." As the council dispersed to carry out his orders, approached privately. "You believe they are ready for contact?" she asked. "No," said, but they are becoming something we need to understand, and perhaps they can teach us something we have forgotten." "What is that?" asked. Looked at the images of the rescue operation still playing on the screens. He looked at the data showing thousands of rescue workers, volunteers, and ordinary citizens mobilizing to help the survivors of the storm. "What it means to be truly strong," he said simply, woke in a hospital room filled with morning light. His shoulders were wrapped in medical tape, his arms were bandaged. An IV ran into his left arm, but he was alive, he was warm, he was safe. He immediately tried to get up. A nurse came in and gently pushed him back onto the bed. "You need to rest," she said. "You have been through a severe trauma. Your body needs time to heal." The boy said, "Tommy, where is he?" "He is in the next room," the nurse said with a smile. "He is healthy. He will be fine thanks to you." Felt something break inside him. The adrenaline and will that had kept him going through the storm suddenly released. Tears came to his eyes. He had done it. He had actually done it. He had brought Tommy home alive. Over the next days, the world discovered Hayes. News channels ran the story continuously. The footage from the rescue showed stumbling out of the cave, his body broken and exhausted, making sure Tommy was loaded into the helicopter before he allowed himself to be rescued. The public loved it. They called him a hero. They said his name on every news broadcast. Reporters came to the hospital. Security kept them out, but flowers and cards and gifts filled his room. Children wrote him letters. Adults shared his story on social media. One phrase appeared again and again. "What a hero! What a human!" On the third day, Tommy's parents came to visit. They brought their son with them. The boy was in a wheelchair because of his injured arm, but he was smiling. When he saw, he jumped up as much as his injuries would allow and hugged him carefully. "You saved my life," Tommy said. His eyes were bright with tears. "My mom said you held up rocks to protect me, that you stayed awake all night to keep me warm, that you gave me all your food and water." Did not know what to say. These were just the things he had done. They were not remarkable, they were just what needed to be done. Tommy's mother, a woman named Rachel, sat on the edge of his hospital bed. "You saved my son," she said. Her voice was steady but full of emotion. "I will never be able to thank you enough. Never. If you need anything for the rest of your life, you tell me and I will do it." "I just did what any person would do," said. Rachel smiled at him. It was a sad kind of smile. "That is exactly what makes you so special. You did what you thought was right without thinking about the cost. Most people could not do that. Most people would have tried to save themselves first, but you did not. You have no idea what a rare person you are." After they left, lay in his hospital bed and thought about what she had said. He had not thought of himself as rare. He was just a rescue worker who had done his job. But above the Earth, in the vast observation ship, Captain presented his findings to the Galactic Council. The council was made up of representatives from 50 different species. They had ruled the galaxy together for millions of years. They did not easily change their opinions. Stood before them and described what he had witnessed. He showed the data. He played recordings of carrying the child through the storm. He showed the moment held up the rocks while he could barely stand. He showed the moment put Tommy's safety above his own life, again and again and again. "For 6 months we have observed humanity," said. "We concluded they were a young species without remarkable qualities. We were wrong. These creatures possess something that advanced technology cannot measure. They possess the ability to love beyond themselves. They possess the will to sacrifice. They possess what we have called wisdom, but which might be something deeper. They understand that a life is sacred, that a child is worth dying for. That compassion is not weakness, but a kind of strength." Many of the council members disagreed. Some said humans were too violent. Others said they were too unpredictable. Some said they were not advanced enough to be treated as equals. But pressed forward. He told them about the thousands of rescue workers who had mobilized to save people from the storm. He told them about the volunteers who had worked without rest to help the survivors. He told them about communities that came together to rebuild what was destroyed. This is a species worth knowing, concluded. This is a species that deserves recognition. I recommend that humanity be elevated to the status of emerging civilization. I recommend that we prepare for eventual contact. And I recommend that we learn from them rather than teach them, because they may have lessons we have forgotten. The vote was close, but it passed. Humanity was officially recognized as an emerging civilization with potential for advancement and partnership. Down on Earth did not know any of this. He only knew that he had survived, that Tommy was safe, that he had done something that mattered. On the day he was released from the hospital, he and Tommy watched the sunrise from the hospital balcony. Tommy's arm was still in a cast, but he was healthy. His eyes were bright. "Will you teach me to be a rescue worker?" Tommy asked. Smiled, "Maybe. First, you need to grow up. You need to get strong. You need to learn about mountains and weather and how to help people." "I want to be like you," Tommy said. "I want to save people." "Then you can do it," said. "The world needs more people like that." Tommy looked up at the sky. The morning was clear and beautiful. The storm had passed completely. The world was healing. There were still broken buildings and damaged trees. There was still work to be done. But there was also sunshine and hope and the promise of tomorrow. Tommy asked, "Do you think there is life on other planets?" Looked up at the sky too. Above Earth, invisible to human eyes, the observation ship began its preparations, and stood in the observation deck, looking down at the planet that had taught them so much. "Statistically, it would be strange if there was not," said to Tommy. "But whether they find us or we find them, it does not matter. What matters is that we show them what humans are really like, that we are not defined by our technology or our weapons or our weaknesses. We are defined by our choices, by our will to help, by our love for each other. That is what makes us strong." Tommy nodded solemnly, as if he understood something ancient and important. Above the world made his final report too. "This species is ready," he said, "not ready for conflict or competition, but ready for partnership, ready for friendship, ready to remind the galaxy what true strength looks like." Smiled, something she rarely did. "What will we do now, Captain?" "Now," said, "we prepare, because the galaxy is about to meet humanity, and everything will change." And below, in the golden light of morning, and Tommy stood together and watched the sunrise, not knowing that they had just changed the course of history, not knowing that their world was about to transform, knowing only that they were alive, that they were together, that they had done something good. And sometimes that was enough. Sometimes that was everything.